Okay, Linda and Ryan, you guys ready?
Yes.
So everyone just bear with us. We pulled this together on kind of short notice during a busy time. Just went through the slides this morning. I'm going to start sharing my screen. It's going to be kind of an organic conversation, but we do have a lot of information that we'd like to share with you. And then have question and answer and some discussion, towards the end. But I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. And I'm just going to take a moment to set my desktop up. I've got a few, there we go. A few screens here. I just want to make sure everything's all set. Okay. So welcome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We're really excited about the opportunity for our fellowship to, look into expanding NA resources for our incarcerated members. I think I remember how to operate this. Give me a minute. There we go. So like I said earlier, and Linda, I'm not sure if you can hear the doorbell when people are trying. You got it. Okay, cool. So we'd like to share lots of information, followed by time for questions, discussion, direction setting. Per the agenda that was sent out, we're looking at expanding access to NA resources on tablets, and then also provide additional virtual services for our incarcerated members. The agenda is just quick introductions, sharing what the current status is, what current content is on the tablets, what new content is being looked at or might be possible, what current virtual services there are besides literature and stuff on the tablets, what possible shared resources there could be across the fellowship, information from incarcerated members, basically in their words, and then question and answer and direction setting. This is one of my favorite quotes when I think about our incarcerated members, especially this last sentence here. The experience of unity restores us to dignity, and that's certainly what all of us have found as we've worked in the corrections space. I thought we could maybe get started with the third step prayer, if people care to unmute and join in. Linda, you want to start us?
Sure. Many of us have said, take my will and my life, guide me in my recovery, and show me how to live. Thank you.
So I just wanted to share a couple of quick pictures here on this opening screen. So this is pictures of NA resources on tablets in an Ohio prison, both in English and Spanish, behind the walls for the newcomer. There's tons more on there, and we'll share what that is later. And then this is a picture taken from one of our virtual common needs meeting specifically for the corrections space. This was taken about a year ago, just at the moment when this person, the chairperson, was making a joke about this person maintaining her commitment and joining from the hospital, having instructed the staff not to do the epidural until her H&I commitment was over. So this is one of our favorite pictures. If Art M were here, he signed up that he was going to be here, but he says he has this framed and hung above his computer so that he gets to see it all the time. I thought we'd just do quick introductions. Really, if just your name, your area, your region, and your service position, that would be great. And Ryan or Linda, do you want to call on people to introduce themselves?
Or sure, addict named Linda.
Okay.
Good morning. I get to be the Arizona Regional H&I Coordinator, and I get to help with these efforts that we're about to talk with. You want to go ahead, Natalie?
Sure. Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm an addict. My area is Mile High. My region is Colorado region, and I don't necessarily have a specific title. I do lots of H&I in lots of different capacities, including several prisons in Colorado. Thanks.
Cool. And Jeff W?
Thank you, Linda. I am Jeff W. I am an addict from the West End area, in the Southern California region. I am privileged to be the alternate delegate for that region, but more pertinent to this meeting, I am the coordinator of the H&I panels at the largest Los Angeles County jail facility.
Thank you. And moving on to Niels, I'm just going down the list.
Thank you, Linda. My name is Nils and I'm an addict. I'm the regional delegate from Sweden. I live in Stockholm and my area is called Gosnad. It's Gotland and South Stockholm, NA. Thank you.
Thank you. And looking at Jim D.
Hi, my name is Jim. I'm a member of the Greater Providence area in Rhode Island, which is a member of the New England region, where I currently serve as the regional delegate.
Awesome. And Tim in Sweden, please.
Hello, I'm an addict named Tim. I'm the alternate delegate for the Swedish region, and my home area, the best one in Sweden, is South Narcotics Anonymous District, also SISNAD for short. Thank you.
Thank you. And moving on to Megan P.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan P. I'm an addict, and I am the Public Relations Subcommittee Chair for Central Ohio, which is the area level in which I assisted in a lot of the pilot projects working with the incarcerated that we're going to talk about today and hopefully elevate.
Awesome. And moving on to Jimmy F. I'm sorry, Johnny F.
My name is John F. I am from the Greater Providence area, which is located in the New England region, and I am the H&I Corrections Coordinator.
Thank you, John. And moving on to Craig R.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm an addict named Craig. The area that I live in is the capital area, which is part of the North Carolina region. I currently serve as the facilitator for the U.S. Collaboration of Zones. And in a former life, I served as World Service Conference H&I chairperson.
Thank you. And moving on to Brian S.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian. I'm an addict. I'm from Niagara Falls. I'm currently serving on the Fellowship Development Team for the Ontario region. And today I am just here on behalf of the Canadian Assembly Fellowship Development Team, taking notes and listening. Thanks.
Awesome. And Christopher.
My name is Chris. I'm out of the Colorado region. I'm the Colorado Regional Public Relations Chair.
Right. And moving on to Gordon.
Hi, everybody. My name's Gordon. I'm an addict. My area is South Okanagan. Region is British Columbia. I'm the jail liaison and written steps to recovery coordinator for the region. I also got clean while serving a life sentence in California.
Thank you. And Candace.
I'm Candace V. My area is South Shore. The region is Indiana. I'm currently the IT coordinator for the Indiana region, and I also am director of addiction recovery service at Indiana State Prison, which is a maximum security prison.
Great. Thank you. Ryan.
My name is Ryan. I'm an addict from the Phoenix area of the Arizona region. I am the alternate delegate, and I have served as East Valley Prison Coordinator, as Phoenix Prison Coordinator, and I myself got clean through sponsorship behind the walls. Thank you.
Moving on to Rich R, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm an addict. My name is Rich, but I am here as a special worker from NOAS, invited by Paul to observe, maybe participate. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And John G.
My name is John. I'm an addict from Upper Fraser Valley area, and I am PR chair for British Columbia
Awesome.
region.
Thank you. And Rob R.
Hi, my name's Rob. I'm an addict. I'm from Yorkshire area in England, and I'm the UK H&I Regional Vice Chair.
Great. And last but not least, Ron S.
Hi, everyone. I'm an addict. My name's Ron. I'm the Alsace region PR chair, and that encompasses 2 provinces of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and parts of southeast and northeast BC. And I live in Calgary, Alberta. Great to see you.
Great. Thank you for everyone participating. Handing it back over to Paul.
Yeah, everyone, welcome. Thanks for the introductions. My name's Paul. I'm part of the Central Ohio PR subcommittee. So Megan is my boss lady. So be nice to me while we're on here since she's here watching. So we'll move on to, let's see if I can get this to go. Yep. So we're just going to jump right in. Again, lots of information, and the notes will be made available to everyone. And I'm sure that there'll be ongoing discussions after this. But the current status of getting information out onto tablets that are issued to the incarcerated in the United States. First point is if the resources are covered by the Fellowship Intellectual Property Trust, or FIPT, then permission from NAWS is needed, and we can go into information about that later, what that permission looks like. Again, that's just for stuff that's covered by the FIPT, so it doesn't include things like area newsletters or podcasts or things like that. Another way of getting the information out is, or one way of getting the information out onto the tablets is direct uploads. I'd like for Linda, if you could expand on that a little bit.
Sure. Good morning again. And I get to hold a relationship with our headquarters at Department of Corrections in our state. And because of that relationship, we are able to upload various different items almost weekly with that relationship. And the things that we've recently been working on are not involved in having a contract with NAWS involved. So recordings and newsletters and such like that. But yeah, that's primarily one way of doing it.
And another way, most recently, of doing it are through content providers. If you think of like your phone, which is manufactured by someone like Apple, and on that Apple phone, you have a bunch of apps. Similarly, on computer tablets manufactured by Viapath, on that tablet are apps called CipherWorks and Adovo, among others. And over the last year, we've worked with NAWS and those content providers to make resources available for free to the incarcerated, to a population of about 1.2 million people in prisons, jails, and halfway houses. Most of this is FIPT covered information resources, so that does require NAWS permission, but again, some things can get pushed out that do not require that. And if it's okay, so we don't want to get too much into Q&A now, but I saw a couple of hands go up. Yes, slides will be available. Yeah, the whole thing will be available. Thanks, Natalie. Current content on the tablets through the content providers are IPs and booklets. So I think there are about 15 IPs, including Am I an Addict and Another Look booklets like Behind the Walls. And these are all in English and Spanish. There is also the audio of the basic text, the 5th edition of the basic text in English and Spanish. Just a point to note that this generally requires that the incarcerated have headphones because the tablets don't have a speaker on them, only a headphone jack. And it's also important to note that not all content providers yet have the same information to push out. So Adovo has Reaching Out magazine, last issues from maybe the last year or so, but CipherWorks does not. So that's one of the goals of this conversation, is to make sure that all the content providers have the same amount of information to push out. So I mentioned reaching out, many issues available in English and Spanish. And then there are select speaker tapes currently in English only. There are 9 available. And just as a point of note, guys at Allen Oakwood Correctional Institution in Ohio are saying, when are we going to get more of these? We're so tired of listening to the same 9. We keep listening to the same 9 over and over again. We want more. And then just a point at the bottom of the slide that usage data suggests that Spanish basic text and the speaker tapes are what's most used. It's what people most log into. This next slide shows a little bit about usage data. We do have access to data dashboards provided by Adovo and by CipherWorks that can show, for the Adovo portfolio, the most accessed item is the basic text part 1 in Spanish. And then we can also see facility names, like which facility has logged into resources most often. As anyone who works with data knows, data dashboards are great when they work right and if you know what you're looking at. And currently, we don't have that depth of relationship with Adovo or CipherWorks to parse out a lot of this. So take this information that you're seeing with a grain of salt, because it may or may not be exactly what we're thinking. Does that make sense? Okay, so some of the expanded content that some are working on currently. New speaker tapes. So as mentioned, Allen Oakwood, and I'm sure other facilities are eager for more. The Colorado region, along with Central Ohio area and the Rio Grande region, are recording updated speaker tapes. And this is done as part of a virtual meeting that occurs on the 2nd and 4th Monday of every month, called Miraculous Mondays. And we can talk more about that later, but big shout out to Christopher for pulling that together and kind of leading that charge. And then podcast, Linda or Ryan, please talk about what the great things that Arizona is doing.
I'm Ryan, I'm an addict. We just kind of took advantage of the relationship that our H&I coordinator had established with the Department of Corrections. And basically we started doing recordings, whether they were almost like roundtable discussions, discussing an IP, maybe on sponsorship, or sharing some speaker recordings. We've shared content with Ohio and Colorado and stuff like that, but just taking these recordings, these podcasts, if that's what you want to call them, and roughly 15 to 30 minutes long, and then uploading them onto the tablets. And like Linda said, we've been doing that roughly weekly at this time. So we've had a lot of success with that.
Additional ideas for expanded content. These are not in process yet, but are getting there. So recordings by and for IMs. IM means incarcerated member. And so the Ohio Department of Corrections is actively working on recording podcasts by and for incarcerated members. So incarcerated members in Ohio, and also developing relationships with incarcerated members and staff in Indiana, so they could record a roundtable discussion of staying clean while on the inside, and then eventually share that through the tablets to the whole 1.1 million end users. Similarly, there are people are looking into exploring ways to make book-length NA resources available on the tablets. So currently we have the audio of the basic text, but no other book length material. So nothing written and nothing outside of the basic text at the moment. So some information about adding resources. The cadence, how often can we add resources? Linda mentioned earlier that they're doing it as direct uploads through a relationship with their subcommittee to the Department of Corrections. They're doing it weekly, and that's based on their specific area or region relationship with the Department of Corrections. Taking that aside, we have the 2 major content providers, Adovo and CipherWorks, and they have very different views on cadence and others. So Adovo says no more frequently than every 6 months. If it's any more frequently than that, then fees may apply. I should point out, I didn't mention this earlier, Adovo and CipherWorks are making the resources available for free. They are not charging NOS, and there is no expense to the incarcerated member to access these materials. If we wanted Adovo to have a greater frequency of uploads, then they did say it would probably require a fee, because that's how they make their money, is by charging fees for adding resources to their portfolio, and they do it for free for nonprofits. CipherWorks, on the other hand, is like, hey, anytime you want to get us reaching out, man, we'll pop it on there. So they just have a different kind of business philosophy, different staff models, stuff like that. Some virtual interactions that are occurring with outside members currently. I mentioned earlier common needs meetings like the one that Christopher is doing with Miraculous Mondays that are designed specifically for the incarcerated population, involve some sort of security protocol. It's not just an open Zoom meeting that anyone can log into, but it is an NA meeting in many ways. However, there are also prisons that are logging into just regular outside meetings. Our Department of Corrections said, hey, these ones that you're doing on Tuesdays at 6:30 don't work well for our staff. Are there other meetings that you can recommend? And so we recommended Architects of Adversity and Conscious Contact, acknowledging that prison staff aren't going to go logging into a bunch of different Zoom meetings trying to find the right one that fits them, right? So if we know of something that would work for them, we tell them. We're not saying this is the best meeting ever. We're just saying this is one we know would suit your needs. So we do have prisons logging into Architects of Adversity, which is a 10 a.m. meeting 7 days a week. On that specific one, the facilitators do call on Ohio Reformatory for Women, ORW, to share. To my knowledge, none of the women at ORW have shared yet on that meeting. There are like 170 people logging in, but they are consistently there, every Monday. They also occasionally attend another 10 a.m. meeting called Conscious Contact. It's important to note, just so that we all have the same knowledge base, that incarcerated members cannot log into these meetings from their tablets. That's not what's happening. The tablets are used to access things like informational pamphlets and speaker tapes and stuff like that. It's a closed system. It's an intranet. They're not logging on to the internet to get out onto Zoom meetings. How they're getting to the Zoom meetings as a commanding officer or CO is gathering people together in a common area of the prison that has internet access, and then they're joining these Zoom meetings. So the current common needs meetings that we are aware of that are happening, there are 3. There's freedom of choice that started in, with the Central Ohio area back in August of 2023. As a outgrowth of that is virtual freedom that started with a couple of Indiana facilities in October of 2024. And then this year in January started Miraculous Mondays, headed up by the Colorado Region PR. Additional virtual services, so outside of meetings that they can log into and outside of independently accessing NA resources on their tablets, we've also been fortunate to be able to help get them plugged into the greater NA community through service work. There have been recorded main shares or leads. So this person you see on the left, his name is Ben. He shared at my home group in January. He also shared, what you see here is a picture of him actually sharing with the Adriatic Regional Convention in May of 2024 in the country of Montenegro. There's also sharing at conventions and on PR panels at our College of Medicine, monthly PR panels. We Zoom in incarcerated members. And then I can provide you with a link. There are fun short videos or audios of things like the Indiana State Prison doing the Just for Today group reading, which is just amazing to listen to. So I'll pop that link in the chat later. So opening up more opportunities for incarcerated members to be more involved in our fellowship on the outside. There are a couple of newsletters. One of them is the Freedom of Choice newsletter that goes along with the meeting. The incarcerated members get to connect on a deeper level through reading stories from the virtual meeting participants. So you can see here that a reflection on step 1 by Ryan M. Ryan's on the call right now. Ryan has attended a lot of the freedom of choice meetings. So the incarcerated members who attend that meeting get to read more about Ryan's experience as a formerly incarcerated person who got clean, behind the walls. You'll see later, we also include a reaching out order form as part of this newsletter that gets emailed to all the prisons and then distributed to the incarcerated members. We also provide tip sheets on how to connect with NA communities upon release, because as all of us know, it sometimes isn't that easy to find information about NA and current information about meetings and stuff like that. And again, these are emailed to facilities. These are not uploaded to the tablets yet. They're printed by prison staff and distributed to the incarcerated members. However, Linda or Ryan, you want to talk about the Arizona newsletter?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak on that. Thank you, Paul. On a regular basis, whenever our local area newsletter or even the reaching out comes out, my alternate or my service position goes ahead and emails those newsletters to either our county jail or our state Department of Corrections to be uploaded onto the tablets, which I have received some feedback from going into my prison that some of the gals on the tablets are seeing those newsletters. So that's really exciting.
And that, you probably said this, but I zoned out for a moment, but that's by direct upload, right? That's not going through the CipherWorks or Dovo apps?
Correct. And what that does is that provides them with our website and our phone number for the phone line for when they do hit the pavement, and so it's an immediate choice of theirs to connect.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
This will not go out as part of the recording, or if it does, you have to not do anything with it. This is a snapshot taken during freedom of choice. One of the prisons where the guy on the left is holding the freedom of choice newsletter, and you can see the reaching out order form on the back of it. This is important because this particular prison system does not have access to Adovo or CipherWorks. They do have tablets, but the tablets do not have either of those apps on their tablets. So the incarcerated members there don't have access to any of our materials, including reaching out. So this way, at least they know that they can subscribe to the hard copy. Shared services. So one of the major goals, of starting this discussion is, as we maybe develop more robust relationships with the content providers, that it doesn't end up with there being multiple parties contacting the content providers. Imagine if you work for Adovo and you're the point of contact for nonprofits, and you've got 10 people from every state in the United States. So, 500 people calling you, trying to get your resources uploaded onto the tablet. So that would kind of wreck that relationship pretty fast. And so that's one of the goals of this conversation, is kind of determine how do we move forward with that. And then also, ideas for expanding services. One thing that was brought up is possibly expanding, reaching out to maybe include things like information on how to find e-resources on the tablets, or tip sheets for those who are up for release about how to find us upon release. And then also dedicated meetings. I mean, I dream big, but I'm sure I haven't dreamt of everything. But what if we had 1, 2, or 3 dedicated prison meetings per day that have had the adequate security clearance, whatever that looks like? I don't know what it looks like, but that prisons across the United States are willing and eager to log into, because we get a lot of feedback from staff that, oh my God, these are great. These meetings are amazing. They're really rocket fuel for the recovery of our incarcerated members. Imagine if we had dedicated meetings that prisons could log into, every day or multiple times a day. And so by coordinating efforts, expanding existing resources, and creating dedicated meetings for our incarcerated members, we can significantly improve access to vital NA resources and foster a stronger connection for this isolated population. And then that's where, oh, why meetings, right? I forgot, we added another slide recently. So why meetings? Some people ask this question. They're just an additional way of carrying the NA message in addition to H&I panels. But, you know, some feedback we get is that, you know, many incarcerated members have said they have never experienced a real meeting before, and that this is just magical for them. And staff have said that they've never seen their guys get so vulnerable as when they're sharing on these virtual meetings, because we offer opportunities for the incarcerated members to share, as well as the outside members who log in to share. So just think of a regular topic meeting where people who share for 3 to 4 minutes on, you know, topics that are brought up. So that's what these are like. Well, Miraculous Mondays is a speaker meeting, but there's also time for the incarcerated members to share after the speaker is finished. And then incarcerated members really appreciate hearing from other incarcerated members in other systems. How are they staying clean while they're incarcerated? What are they doing to get, you know, just for today, one more day clean? You guys will get copies of all of this, but again, in their words, you know, we sent out questionnaires. Staff was great in scanning these back. So this is what incarcerated members have written. You know, I'm impacted deeply by seeing individuals who are free that have been where I am currently and made it out and are clean and successful. I won't read it all to you since you'll have these, but the virtual meetings have given me hope for a lifelong recovery family in here and outside of here. Thank you, my NA family. Again, a lot of incarcerated members have never experienced seeing people from all across the country logging in on a Tuesday night at 6:30 for us all to help each other stay clean. They didn't know that this existed, and so they're seeing this for the first time. It has shown me that the NA family really and truly cares for not only those on the outside, but as well as us behind the walls. I see other people free from prison and out living life and doing good through NA. It gives me hope that life is possible outside these walls without drugs. I know it's a better life after this. I know I need NA when I get out, and I appreciate this opportunity. It's nice to hear from people who have been incarcerated and have used the NA program and way of life to change their lives in a positive way. As part of this questionnaire that we sent out was question 13. What else would you like to see on the tablets? Consistently, mostly what we've seen is people asking for more speaker tapes and podcasts, audiobooks. I think this is really important here, seeing more inmates that have gotten out and succeeded. And then in the bottom right, seeing old recordings of virtual meetings. So my dream of dedicated meetings 3 or 4 times a day, what if they're recorded? What if there's a way that we can do that? I don't know if there is, but recorded and then put out onto tablets for other people to access later. And this is just more of that. So what became clear from this limited subset of the population, I think we got about 50 surveys back, is that hardly anybody checked off more written materials. Why that is, you know, we can guess at, you know, perhaps it's hard to read on the tablets, or people's reading literacy level is low, or the screen is bad and it's hard to see. But that's not really what they're asking for. What they're asking for are more audio and visual materials, but the written materials are also very important, clearly. And then, yeah, hopefully I've conveyed, you know, the excitement that this is the first of many discussions, you know, that we can look forward to dedicating more time to these amazing opportunities to really bring our incarcerated members into the greater NA community. And so with that, I'd like to end the slideshow and then just open it up for discussion, question and answer, thinking about next steps, stuff like that. But Ryan, Linda, please jump in before we open it up if you want to add anything about the slides or the information that was presented.
I'm Ryan, I'm an addict. I just want to add that those survey responses are strictly from Ohio, because here in Arizona, we've had other responses indicating the audio versions were hard to listen to, as well as requesting more written material. So it seems to vary by wherever we're at, you know, and in Arizona hasn't sent out a survey like that yet, but it's definitely something that we could put together if we needed to.
Attic name Linda. Hi, I'm just curious if everyone could show a show of hands on who in their region had their incarcerated on Unity Day for World Convention. Okay, so
We haven't.
just a cool. Just a heads up, Arizona Regional Convention and some of the more local conventions also do something like that for a specific meeting. So these are just ideas of what can happen. And it's really important also to note that there was a data dashboard that was shown by Paul that's available for access, but we don't really have anyone taking ownership of that data, logging on, and then disseminating. So that's a really, that's an opportunity for all of us to get better access of what's really going on and then we can kind of expand and dream together. And so this is a united effort. I don't know specifically if in Sweden they have tablets that this is available yet, but there was a survey sent out in the invite, in the email, and we're trying to get a better picture of what we on the planet can do together. And so that's, I just wanted to emphasize that.
And I think that's a really good point and kind of leads into the dissemination that we talked about before too, is that, you know, with those data dashboards, it appears that not the vast majority of prisons with access to the literature has low, according to the data dashboard, has low engagement. And how can we improve that engagement? How can we tell our fellowship, our H&I service enthusiasts, our PR service enthusiasts, to let the incarcerated know that these materials are available? Because there are a few outstanding ones. It looks like California is killing it, right, with letting their people know because they're logging on a lot, whereas Ohio is lagging. And so what can we do to improve dissemination of this information? And then also utilizing, like Linda said, the data dashboards and being able to see a more complete picture. Brian, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so I just have a question. So I've had a hard time finding content providers in Canada. So I looked up Adovo and CipherWorks, and they're specific to, from their website anyway, they're specific to American incarcerated people. I'm just wondering if you would know of anything beyond the United States, and if not, what would the first steps be to figure out that information?
So yes, a great question. And I can't remember which meeting it was on with me and Jane and Bob with CipherWorks, but CipherWorks mentioned that they were looking into or about to enter the Canadian market. So I think that there are definitely opportunities on a PR level for us to have robust relationships with CipherWorks and Adovo and be ready to leverage, you know, that kind of information. Even if they, CipherWorks and Adovo, don't get a presence in Canada or Germany or France, they're part of that community of providers where professionals know each other, and much of this progress has been made through those relationships that have been scaffolded over the last 4 years through Ohio Department of Corrections and our PR subcommittee and getting introduced to these content providers and stuff like that. All of that can grow. So a long way of saying, yes, I think, you know, in the years to come, even in the short term, that's definitely possible. Ryan?
I'm Ryan. I'm an addict. Some of the trouble or the difficulties we encounter, the obstacles that we're encountering here, is informing the incarcerated throughout the, at least, you know, in the States, that this content is available to them. You know, that falls on our local H&I committees, letting them know, because the prisons aren't informing them that happens, you know, or that content is on there. And so also this effort has kind of been combined through like Ohio, Colorado, Arizona, at times Florida has been involved originally. But, you know, members of our fellowship here, you know, who do they reach out to when they're looking for information on this? You know, they can reach out to Paul, but Paul's serving at his area level. You know what I mean? And so when we think about who can upload to Adobo, who can upload to CipherWorks for everybody, to put this content for everybody, that's a crux that we're running into as well. I know we have a new body called the well, it's not a body, but it's a PR effort, U.S. Collaboration of Zones. We've thought of ways, can we put this information on NAS's website? Can we put this information on the U.S. Collaboration of Zones website with a way to disseminate this information? You know what I mean? And so that's some of the stuff that, you know, we're running into, some obstacles that we're running into, because the content's there, but not everybody knows it's there, or even how to access it, or even how to begin the process of finding out if it's available to them. So that's some of our obstacles at this time.
If I could piggyback on that, yeah, that's a really good point. And we had been talking in earlier conversations about, imagine if we had like a 3 or 5 minute video on the U.S. Collaboration of Zones website or na.org, just succinctly explaining all of this. So, you know, I do get a lot of questions about this. We could just direct them to that link and say, if you have any further questions, if this doesn't answer your questions, then please feel free to reach out. Again, just an idea. But Rich, your hand was up.
Hey, yeah. Just wanted to, well, first I was going to offer some advice to Brian, but from what Ryan just said, I think, you know, na.org has the local service resources page, which you could put presentations and things like that up. So that might be an option if you were able to make a presentation that explains how to do this all. We could definitely, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to make promises. I'm pretty sure we could put it up on there. And then, yeah, maybe exploring other ways to detail it. And if anyone has any questions, or you're like almost close to getting tablets going, you can email me, rich@na.org. I'm the kind of the person that's been dealing with that now. And Brian, in Canada, yeah, I don't know of any content providers also, but I think my advice would be, if you have a prison that's willing to work with you on it, first, like, ask them straight up, do you know who your content provider is? They might already have one on their tablets, and then you could get them in touch with me. Or, you know, some prisons are willing to do direct uploads of all the materials that are available. Like I'm finishing now working with Kansas DOC. We got 9 prisons that they're putting all the materials up, and it's just, I'm working directly with the people at the prison. Yeah. So, not necessarily needing a content provider. Sometimes they just don't even need that. They just put it up for you. So just, yeah, that's all.
Thanks, Rich. John, I think you were next. John F.
Yes, first of all, I am stoked. You guys are killing it, and I really appreciate being invited to this, Paul. And Jim D is not only a home group member, but he's my regional delegate, and he's absolutely suggested I attend. First of all, I'm in my professional business. I'm an IT guy, so I'll offer any services you all may need in that respect. As far as slicing data goes, I love doing that and figuring out like patterns and stuff like that. So I'm available for anybody who wants to, you know, take advantage of that. I've been the H&I corrections coordinator off and on for the last 18 years, and I've been into the, you know, to the prisons here in Rhode Island. And our greatest is getting people cleared and going inside. That's our greatest obstacle. After COVID, they changed it to an actual 16-hour orientation you have to go. So anybody who wants to be cleared has to go to a 2-day, you know, orientation before they can even get inside. And it's insane. Like, there are other states around us where you can just provide your ID and, you know, they'll do a BCI check and you go inside. Very recently, they hired a new guy in charge of what they call recovery resources at the DOC here in Rhode Island, and he's from the treatment, you know, arena. So that's a good thing, and he's excited to start getting us to work. So I started mentioning this a few months ago about, you know, possibly having meetings available inside, you know, via whatever, Zoom or whatever. Simply because, you know, it's so difficult to get people cleared. And so, you know, I'd like to like eliminate that, except for like maybe 1 or 2 meetings. We have one meeting in Medium and that's been going on for years. It's called the Down But Not Out Group, and it's a regular meeting inside the walls. We basically go there so they can have it. Most of the time they run the meeting themselves. We just show up, you know, so they can meet, and it's an awesome meeting. But like, you know, all the other ones we're trying to get up and running again after COVID, the women's facility, intake, we got a bunch of building. It's like so difficult. And like this would be a great resource. So I'm absolutely gonna pound this to death with them, and you know, I know that we do have tablets, you know, that are available to our IMs. The first place I'm gonna start is just getting our literature, you know, getting them to upload the literature. Either I'll find out about the providers you mentioned and mention that to them. Last thing I want to say, will this meeting that you're recording for, will this be available that I could like show it to our area H&I subcommittee or members there, or just are we
believe
just
that
gonna
was
get the notes?
intention. The only thing I have to do is take out that one picture, figure out how to take out that
Yeah.
one picture. But yeah, I think that was the intention, Ryan and Linda, that this would become available. So yeah.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
And that brought up some good points. I just want to, you know, clarify for people in case you're wondering. So these are still pilot programs, these virtual meetings, they're still in the pilot phase. So our Department of Corrections was super eager to give it a try, but they had no guidelines. And we all said, okay, we'll learn together. We'll figure it out as we go along with some security parameters in place, obviously. So currently, the only people that need to be cleared with a volunteer security application are the chairs. And then all other people who are logging in are vetted by the chairs. And so that's also an open invitation for anyone on this call. If you want to email me, you're welcome to come on and observe and participate in Freedom of Choice, probably Miraculous Mondays as well. I think Indiana, Candace, is still kind of in a more closed phase, but maybe you can share on that a little bit in a little bit. And also, before I forget, you know, if you come on and observe, or if any of your prison officials want to come on and observe one of these pilot meetings, they're welcome to do that. It won't be tomorrow, but we can work toward that. Just an FYI. So Hilmi, I see that you had your hand up.
Hi, Hilmi Addict. Going on to audio shares on our website in the UK. We've got one specific area, especially for audio shares. And what can happen is you just click on the link, and we've sent the link to quite a few prisons now. And all they have to do is just click on the link, and they can log straight onto the website to where the shares are, and listen to, I think there must be a couple of 100 shares or something like that, conventions and stuff like that. I have to say also, they did ask for all video shares, right? And they wanted them sent in via DVD. This got a bit tricky because some of the prisons in the UK have got laptops. And if those DVD films ended up with the inmates and the inmates taking them out of the prison, and then that could cause us a lot of trouble. So we went down that route as well, but decided to stop it at that point.
Thanks for sharing that, Hilmi. That's great information. Wanted to point out, I forgot earlier to turn the chat on for everyone. Again, these are security lockdowns because we use this account for the prison meeting, but Rich just offered, you know, for people to put their email addresses in the chat, or Rich, you can put yours in the chat. It's opened up now that people can chat with each other. Sorry, I forgot to do that earlier. Gordon?
Thank you, Paul. I know everybody that shared has spoken. I want to start picking your brains, but I can't take up all you guys' time. anyway, so like I said, I'm a jail liaison and hooking people up to get inside to do the meetings, right? And I deal with both provincial and federal. We've also started the written steps to recovery program based on the one Ryan mentioned. I did that too, you know, sponsorship behind the wall. But what I had was a question for Brian S. So you said that you've looked up the CipherWorks and Adobe. Do you guys have tablets in Ontario?
I'm not sure. I just looked at those content providers.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things I'd like to get going. I think I see the value in it. I deal with a couple of guys still in the pen in California, help get ready for parole their parole hearings, right? Because just because I left doesn't mean I should forget about them. And it's important to me to stay in touch. They've got tablets and it's proved to be invaluable in that process. So I'm really interested in getting tablets introduced into BC. And right now, I just don't know how to go about directing who to direct it at. And I know Ron here in Alsac's also working on that in that region. So if he'd share a little bit, I wouldn't mind hearing that. And I want to thank you guys for everything you're doing. I know you guys are doing a lot in Central Ohio and other places in the States. And I really appreciate you sharing your information with us. Thanks.
Thanks, Gordon. Ryan?
I just wanted to touch on, because there's questions like, obviously a lot of this work has been done happening in the United States, but you know, I've done a little bit of research, and you know, what's been made available to me is there are countries outside of the US, Sweden, the United Kingdom. I've even, you know, believe Germany, Australia. There's other countries that are using tablets with corrections. You know what I mean? And so I guess this is just showing you what we've been able to do here. I can't, you know, we can't speak necessarily on what content providers you guys are using over there. It might take a little bit of investigating and work on your part. I mean, we just celebrated, we were talking about Linda and Paul and I, we started working on this together 4 years ago as of yesterday, you know what I mean? And throughout that process, I mean, a lot has changed. Originally, when we did this, we were doing direct uploads with the prisons. You know what I mean? It was getting a copyright agreement for the IPs with NAS and the prison. And we're still using that kind of platform now as Linda uploads our audio podcast type of things. But when Adovo and CipherWorks opened up, it really covered, you know, I think Paul touched on at least 1.1 or 1.2 million throughout the United States. And so hopefully this can spark some investigation or a little bit of desire and passion on your guys' parts overseas to really start looking into this. You know what I mean? Because, you know, in Arizona, when we first did the uploads years ago, it was like overnight, over 43,000 incarcerated addicts had access to the intro guide, the white book, you know, some of our IPs and stuff like that. And it was just, it was emotional. It was impactful, especially as a recovering addict who got clean in prison with limited access available to me. It was just really powerful. So,
Linda, is that your hand up? Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, so I have a direct question for Rich, but yeah, I just want to say that initially Brian and I were pretty close-minded about having a tablet incarceration. You know, we were like, what? That's like handing a 3-year-old a iPad. But you know, so we were pretty close-minded in the beginning, and then the gift of COVID came where we started to expand and reconsider ideas that we once had said no to. So, you know, it's really been a collaborative effort of pushing pushing what we thought was possible in all areas with all of us. So, Rich, my direct question to you would be, are you saying that you're taking ownership of this at the NOS level? And then part B of that question would be, is there a space electronically that all these downloads could be available to all of us throughout the entire planet to just grab?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm the H&I and PR team assistant at NOS, so this does fall under kind of my duties now. So when people ask what to do with getting tablets or they want to go through the process, yeah, I am the person that you would want to reach out to. And I will help like get the contract written up and signed by the people here at NOS, and then from the facility, and then I would work with the production manager to make the files available for upload. They would not, I can't say for sure, but I don't believe they would able to be just widely available to download from anyone because of all the contract requirements and the protections to make sure it's coming through NOS and staying free on whatever content provider it is. So I think you would still have to come to us to be able to get it put up.
And that's I remember from the Adovo contract that they sent a boilerplate that included some language that said after 2 years, ownership reverts to Adovo or transfers to Adovo of our intellectual property. And so those contracts are really important that they are reviewed by a legal team and signed only by, NOS, because it could result in some issues later on. They were very apologetic about it, like, oh, we didn't mean for that. That wasn't the one we meant to send. But yeah.
Yeah, so the ownership. Yeah, so the ownership of like getting the contract stuff dealt with and like making the materials available, that would be me. But as far as like getting the relationship, figuring out what the things are you have to do with the wardens, that would be, the members' duty.
And just for clarity, that's for our literature.
Yes.
That's for the copywritten pieces of literature. Yeah. When it comes to like, if your subcommittees are doing recordings or speaker tapes and stuff like that, you don't have to get that from Rich.
Correct.
So really just, I'm sorry to ping pong off you. So yeah, in the beginning, in order to get any kind of literature in its entirety onto the tablets, there's a legal contract that needs to be signed by both the entity and NOS. Though, as far as a shared website for downloads, what I'm talking about is the creative way in which we're carrying the message now through interviews, podcasts, some of these virtual other means that don't require a contract.
You're asking to like be able to upload and then make available to everyone all of those things through
Yeah, because like when we're doing, like we do round table discussions of like an IP, we only read a few paragraphs out of it, and then we have a conversation. We record that. So instead of me having to send it to Colorado or to Ohio or to Indiana, could we just put it on a shared space that all of us could look at in?
I mean,
it's an idea.
Certainly as members, you could do that through whatever means you wanted. Through NA.org, it would require a few steps to make it happen. Specifically, like everything that you would want to put up would have to be reviewed, and then the World Board would have to approve it. So it would be like a lot of processes. It's not impossible. I'm not saying no, but yeah, that would be a pretty big task. But it's a good one. But it'd be a big task.
Okay, cool. And that should definitely be on, an agenda item for future conversations about how that might look. Is it feasible? Efficiencies of scale, stuff like that. Tim, you've had your hand up for a while. Our AD from Sweden.
Hello, I'm an addict named Tim. Thank you all for service, first of all. We in the Swedish region, we started our project with this back in 2023, and it still hasn't launched. So this is this is great to listen to you guys. So thank you for that. But I had a question about someone said, sorry, I can't remember names. I was in the kitchen. Uploading something and it goes out to 40,000 people straight away. How do you do that? Like, how do you do quality control? Who gets to upload it? Is someone checking it twice before you upload it? Like, how is the routines with this? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes, yeah, I'm Ryan, I'm an addict. So our original process, when it went over to, out to 43,000 people, that's roughly an estimate of the incarcerated population in Arizona, roughly 43,000. And that's excluding federal prisons. That's just state prisons. And so originally the process was we as a committee came up with 5 pieces of literature, IPs and booklets, like staying clean on the outside or behind the walls, the little white booklet, those things. And what we had to do was send a PDF version of that to the prison and for review. And then once the prison reviewed that and found that it was okay, they said, okay, we can move forward. And then a contract had to be signed between World Services, between NAS and the prison. And those details were like, this is going to be provided free of charge. It's not going to be sold to the incarcerated and things like that. And so then at that point, they were able to put that literature onto the tablets that went, all the tablets in Arizona, all the state tablets in Arizona. And then throughout the years, we've just really worked on developing a good relationship with our Department of Corrections. That's where Linda has really come in, because she's that person here in Arizona who is really contacting the prisons and dealing with the uploads and stuff like that. And so when we do these recordings, she provides a little synopsis of what it covers. You know what I mean? Like you would read if you go to the podcast app, you see a little synopsis of what the podcast has, and she sends that to them. And then they upload it. And so, you know, us on our end, we are the ones that are doing the editing, making sure that it's a clear NA message, making sure that we're, you know, doing our due diligence to make sure what we're putting on there is NA and it's a clear NA message.
I just wanted to add a little something initially in that 43,000 or 44,000 upload to the incarcerated. The institution signed first the contract. It had to be on their letterhead. So there's specific steps and details on this particular process, and we're happy to share our, you know, how to.
And just to note too, that it's different for different systems. When Sarasota, Florida did it, which is the person, the body that helped us when we first did it in Ohio before moving on to Arizona, you know, they did it through just one person at a county jail, Lieutenant Arlene Tracy, who was kind enough to be on a presentation that Ryan and Linda and I did 4 years ago, you know. But for the Ohio Department of Corrections, it required 2 agencies of the state, the Ohio Department of Corrections and the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, to sign, as well as NAS. And so it's going to be different wherever you are. I think, Linda, yours was also through the head chaplain, whereas, you know, initially, whereas ours was through the directors of those 2 state agencies. So there are rough guidelines, but no real boilerplate that says this is exactly the steps that you'll need to take. A lot of it depends on your personal relationships, your service relationships with the professionals in your community. Jeff, you had your hand up?
I'm Jeff, I'm an addict. I just want to, well, thank you all for the presentation and for those of us for being here. But I want to clarify that the steps that I know Arizona and probably when you, Paul, and in Florida had to take and can still be utilized by people in other countries and perhaps in the States. And there's a difference between that and the fact that now the app on Adovo and Cypherworks, it already has the NA literature on it. So if the inmates have the tablet, the stuff is there if they have the right kind of tablet with the app. So you don't have to go through the process of getting NAS to sign off and getting the institution to sign off and some other state agency maybe. And that's the difference. And if you do have to go through that process because it's not preloaded on there, I know Linda has provided me with templates. It may not be boilerplate. This is exactly how you do it because it varies from, jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But there are samples that you can use, and obviously we're all very interested in the same thing, so we're helping each other, and I appreciate all the help. The mutual aid is spectacular. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Niles?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us, Niels Addict.
Niels, sorry.
This is very helpful for us and useful to listen to you guys. And just want to add something that, in the Swedish correction system or the Swedish prison service have not yet hand out tablets in prisons or jails. But they are, as the latest information I had is they are going to do their first pilot this April. It's going to be 3 jails and 1 prison or 2 prison. And the second pilot is going to be to more jails and prisons in the, what do you say, October. I don't know how you say it. So the Swedish fellowship region are kind of prior this, when we heard about the prison service was going to hand out tablets. We started this project, and we have made many recordings, audio files with 12 IPs, and we have negotiations with what do you say? Negotiations and with NAS and the prison system in Sweden is going on. So we are, we are now coming somewhere, and we hope that we will be able to have these IPs and information and personal stories as soon as possible. Just wanted you to know. And I have a little, information I can send to you. Maybe I can send this to some of you, and you will hand it out to the rest of the guys. Thank you.
Thank you. I did want to ask so Candace is still here. First, I'm going to pop in the chat recording that we were able to do from Indiana State Prison of how the guys close the Tuesday night freedom of choice meeting by reading the Just for Today group reading. So there's that link to that recording. It's like 43 seconds long. It's a lot of fun. But I wanted to ask Candace for any input, since she's a member of Narcotics Anonymous, but she's also the Recovery Services Supervisor at the Indiana Department of Corrections for Indiana State Prison, and just kind of her input as a member and also someone who's connected more intimately with the prison system. If that's okay, Candace. Sorry for putting you on the spot. Just say no if you don't want to.
No, I'm fine. Morning, everybody. I want to say thank you to everybody for initiating this, and I am so grateful that I was able to get logged on and be a part of this, both inside and outside. I want to tell you, I've had the opportunity, because I know a lot of you, because I'm behind the scene at ISP watching the virtual meeting, but I can't tell you how much this has helped these guys. And we tried to implement Narcotics Anonymous, right? And I've got a couple staff who, one goes to the other fellowship and one is in Narcotics Anonymous. A couple of them aren't in a fellowship aren't addicts. And we all know that addicts relate to addicts, right? So when this came about and I was able to get these guys on, and they were doing their own meetings, but there has been such a transformation of the community of a fellowship now. And I've had guys who've been through treatment 2 or 3 times, and I put them on the list for the virtual meeting, and all of a sudden it just transforms them because they see people like them. They see people that have been inside, now they're outside there, and they're just, it's huge. It's huge in there. And Indiana, Paul had said something about it being closed. I don't think it's really closed. It's just I really don't know. I haven't been on H&I subcommittee for a minute, but I think they're kind of like I don't know how to say it, like afraid to expand, because like the prison system is kind of hard to deal with. If you, even for me inside, it's hard for me to deal with. And sometimes I go to I'd rather ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So then I just do things. And we got one of my guys on a podcast, and they're able to get onto the Monday miracles. So, but really, no harm. There's nothing, I would never do anything to harm these guys. I would never do anything that I thought was not in their best interest. So now I can't say for other people, but I want to say one thing is I've been trying to get the other facilities in Indiana to start getting on these meetings, but me being a member, when I stay till 7 o'clock for Tuesday, I just chalk it up to service work, right? That's, unique to me. But doing it during regular hours that people are there would be very beneficial for them to be able to get on other institutions. And I want to tell you a story that happened to me this week. I had to go to another facility. It's called Westville in Indiana. And we had one of the members of, or one of our patients level down, because we're 3-4 maximum security, and he leveled down to a 1-2. And when I went over there, all the guys are like, check on Matt, check on Matt, check on Matt. And my first assessment I was doing, I was talking to this guy and talking to this guy, and said, you ever been to an NA meeting? And he's like, no, but you know what? This guy came here and he started doing his own NA meeting on the unit. And I was like, is that Wagner? He's like, yeah. And his face lit up. And it was like Matt, who was always, you got Paul, you've seen him on the virtual meetings. So it was just like he's paying it forward. That seed was planted and it went out, it went to Westville. And Westville is pretty bad as well. And then I did end up seeing Matt, and he's doing really good. He's rec worker. He's in a good place. Still the same guy, crazy as ever, but in a good place. And I just thought that was so, I don't know, just thought it was great that we were able to get him involved to the point where he knows that's what he needs to further his recovery. It was awesome.
That's great. Thank you, Candace, for sharing that.
Other than that, I will continue to do service. I think I was nominated for PR for the Indiana region, and I think that will involve me in this a little bit more. and get out of IT, because 3 years of that was enough.
All right, thanks, Candace. Ryan, before you, I just wanted to mention, so Candace mentioned the virtual meeting and the power of these things to reach so many people. We get up to 12 institutions from 4 states with up to 250 incarcerated members attending the Freedom of Choice on Tuesdays, with an additional 10 to 20 outside members like Ryan, Christopher, Jeff, Megan, people on this call sharing their experience, strength, and hope. So the potential for this is really enormous. Brian?
I just kind of wanted to ask Rich a question, at least pitch an idea. With our difficulties of informing the incarcerated that these resources are available to them, one idea that we had kind of brainstormed was putting some information in the reaching out that goes out. I don't know if, because phenomenal work getting this stuff. I mean, it's been a labor of love getting this stuff onto these tablets and thinking of new ideas. But like, the other side of the coin is, how do we inform the incarcerated that it's there? Because we're not getting help from the prison. They're not gonna go out and send out notifications to the incarcerated. Hey, you got literature on your tablets, or there's these podcasts and stuff like that. And so that's another thing that we're thinking about. And one avenue that I know is specifically designed towards the incarcerated is the reaching out. And I know it's a smaller publication or whatever, but it was just an idea, maybe something to bring up, because that reaches a lot of people. You know what I mean? The reaching out does penetrate the prison walls. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down and I took a screenshot when you posted one of your slides, said something about adding some ideas to reaching out. And my only initial how to solve question that popped in my head with your idea is, what about if I put, say, just as an example, I put check your tablets to see if the literature is there, and then that reaching out goes to a prison that's doesn't have that yet. That might cause some confusion. So it's like, how do I solve for that? And I'm sure there's a way, but because the reaching out goes everywhere.
Just wording, probably. It's a
yeah, wording or listing the states that it does have, maybe something like that. But yeah, I wrote that idea down. I do like updating, reaching out, and that's another thing that is totally me at this point. I'm the one that creates that. So yeah, let me digest those ideas, and maybe feel free to email me ideas for that too, so I have it written down and can bring it up to the powers that be.
And Rich, I mean, those are some really good points. And first of all, I just want to thank you for your service, and thanks so much for being on this call today. There are some complications with that, but probably the benefits outweigh the risks. But yes, if it's put in reaching out and it gets to a prison where it's not there, either because the prison hasn't started yet, or it was on there and then the contract changed, right? These are contracts with content providers, and those contracts will change over time. And then in the case of Ohio, we've also found that local prison administrators can turn access on and off to specific resources. So it was pushed out to the whole state of Ohio, and everybody was using it and everything was grand. And then we get messages from 2 specific prisons saying, I can't find it anymore. What's up? So it was only then through contacting CipherWorks where they said, oh, let me go in and see. So they went in their databases and, oh, they've turned it off at the local level. We don't know why. So then our PR subcommittee needs to start working on relationships with those local prisons to see, why are you turning access off to these resources? And so, but overall, I think Ryan's point is really good, that reaching out could be used as an avenue to say, this might be possible in your prison system. So check for these. And if it's not there, just know we are diligently working on trying to expand access. John.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And when Rich just said that, my thought was, if I was an IM and I read it in reaching out, I would be prompted to ask the people inside, why isn't it there? which would then also maybe, you know, you get enough of them asking them why it isn't there would start the ball rolling from the inside out, you know, so it depends on how you word it and who we're, you know, what we're trying to accomplish, I guess.
Christopher?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on what Ryan was saying. I think that anytime we can put information out there of what we have available, and if NAWS can utilize that in reaching out, I think it would be a very effective tool to let them know, you know, we have these meetings available, we have this available. You know, we got into Florence Federal Penitentiary not because we were knocking on the doors, because there were addicts behind the walls that started NA meetings, and the movement within that prison became very, very large. You know, so if we could put something like that and reaching out, this is available, and get these guys knocking on the doors to the people they talk to within the walls, I think it would make it be incredibly powerful. I know that when I was incarcerated, it was very powerful to be able to have meetings in there and to talk. There were certain people you could talk to and say, hey, can we get this? Can we get this? And so if we're not putting the information out, then I don't think we're doing our job. And I think it's very important that the men and women that are incarcerated behind the walls get any information they can through anything, any way we can reach them. I also wanted to say, you know, it was so powerful when Ryan spoke at Miraculous Mondays, because we had the Ohio State Penitentiary. We didn't know they were there. And it was the administrative staff for the maximum security and also for solitary confinement. And what happened from that is they opened up that level 6 for those inmates to attend by hearing the message. So we don't know who's going to hear our message, but our responsibility, I think, as members is to put our message out there that we found a way out, and let, whether it's administration, whether it's the addicts behind the walls, that we have this available for you. We have a responsibility to do that.
And that's a really good point, Christopher. I'd forgotten about that. And very important that when we're doing our PR and H&I stuff here in Ohio, that when prisons say, we don't have the capacity to log into virtual meetings, then to say things like, you can do it from a smartphone. You don't need to be on camera. You don't have to expose your persons of interest or your high-level incarcerated members to show their face on video. You can do this totally by audio. And so that's what OSP, Ohio State Penitentiary, is doing. Before I forget, I'm just going to push my little agenda here real quick, and I apologize for doing it, but I just want us all to think about for a moment how we now, us on the outside, receive new information. Most of the times we are not looking at an encyclopedia or even an IP. Most of the times how we get new information are through short TikToks, reels, things like that. And maybe our fellowship or our areas or our regions, not violating LFIPT, could think about very short, concise things that will make a person whose life has become unmanageable think, oh, I should go check out those NA resources. Because a lot of people aren't flipping through that tablet looking for IPs to read, right, or speaker tapes to listen to, but something that grabs people, like a PSA, like that one from Israel, man, just grabs you. It's like, oh man, that's me. Maybe I should look into this. Maybe that's something our fellowship can think about too, particularly for communicating with incarcerated members who might have very low literacy, ADHD, dyslexia, all sorts of other co-occurring things. How do we communicate with them in a way that really reaches them? So enough of my soapbox. Jeff.
Thanks, Paul. Jeff, I'm an addict. I thank you for pushing your little agenda, because it's a great little agenda. I was going to take the opportunity to echo what our friend Tom Kay from New Mexico says all the time, which is, you know, like what Ryan's saying is, oh, the prison's not going to tell the incarcerated members that, you know, this stuff's available. But Tom is always harping on, you know, mostly in terms of getting access one way or the other, but he's always encouraging us to find our inside champion. Whether it's a chaplain or, you know, I know in Ohio it's this guy Matt, and in Indiana it's Candace, you know, But there's it's not the whole prison system, as Ryan has made clear, and we all agree. But there are individuals who are working in these institutions that see the value that Narcotics Anonymous brings. That, and as Chris said, we tell, we were there, and there's a way out, and we found it, and you can find it too. That's really important. And there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot, and that was going to fall by the wayside. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. So we're just about at 90 minutes. I mean, we had the Zoom set up for 2 hours, but we've had a lot of information shared, a lot of conversation, a lot of ideas, certainly no concrete real next steps, but enough for us all to kind of think about and plan on coming back together either through email or another virtual meeting. Just want to check in with the co-facilitators, Ryan and Linda, about maybe concrete next steps after today, after this, like what should be next.
I'm Ryan, I'm an addict. I mean, next steps, I believe, is obviously to send out this recordings to everybody. I think that, those of us who are able to share our resources with people who might be just beginning this process is important. So having our contact information available. I did notice that Craig put something in the chat that he would be more than willing to share this information on the U.S. Collaboration of Zones website. So maybe pursuing something like that as an avenue of uploading our content, or even just seeing what that looks like. You know what I mean? As far as them assisting other regions in the United States. Like if someone has a question about how to do this, the U.S. Collaboration of Zones can point them in the right direction. That's essentially what they're doing with their other PR efforts, is trying to direct people to the right location. So maybe having a place on that website that will have some information. That's something that we could pursue and follow up on. And then, follow up with an email to Rich and see what's going on with the reaching out. You know what I mean? Just stay proactive with that. Things often move slowly, but we can obviously continue to follow up and be persistent with our efforts.
I would like to request for everyone, I don't think that I had everyone's email address, maybe. I think some invitations were forwarded on. So if you haven't communicated directly with me as part of this, if you could put your contact information in the chat so that I have a complete list of who to send the recording out to and stuff like that. Because I think a few of you maybe weren't on those initial invitation lists. So thank you. Linda, I think you had something.
Yeah, so I just wanted to remind everyone that, well, in my experience, dealing with officials, whatever level that means, we run into a mixed bag of people, some that don't see Narcotics Anonymous as a viable option. Maybe they have an experience that didn't work for their nephew and he died or whatever. And then some people are just really excited about, yeah, this is a good avenue, a resource. So what I do know is maintaining my skill of curiosity as my passion for this avenue has been most beneficial for Arizona as a whole. But, and then two, mentorship, teaching other people how to do it. Finding those people in our fellowship that are willing to go the extra mile to carry the message in a different way than what we thought. And so I just think that as a united front on this planet, we need to help each other. And so, I mean, this, it's just a reminder that even if we run into a dead end, it's not a dead end forever. And so we can still continue forward in different ways and different means. And let me tell you, Ryan and I are always talking to each other and we're bouncing ideas off of each other. Sometimes Ryan's ideas are way out of the ballpark. And I need to tell him, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, but and sometimes he needs to settle me down. So I just think that having each other together, like talking to Chris and talking to Paul and talking to Jeff and all of us talking, it creates a synergy that continues forward that's bigger than us. So I just wanted to remind each other that we're in it together. Thank you.
John, I think your hand's up next.
I just want to say thank you very much for all this information. I just love that last part about inside champion. I just was cleared at Matsklee Institutions, federal institution in BC, and we got a long way to go. The lady told me there have been no prisoners allowed even books in their cells for the last few years because of security concerns. I was asking her about getting literature sent in. She said it's just not going to happen at this time. So we got a long way to go, but that inside champion, I love that. And I was invited to a volunteer get together there on Monday. And so I'll start looking for that inside champion. But thanks for all this information. I really appreciate it up here.
I wanted to speak to like Canada and Sweden. You know what I mean? It sounded like Nils and Tim should be having more information about the pilot program that's going out in April and October. And I would like, you know, if they're able to gather more information to hear more about that, and to find out how that goes, if they're able to get any of that information, you know what I mean? And as far as Canada goes, I mean, you know, what I had heard from Paul originally about CipherWorks was that they were planning to do something in Canada. And so, you know, just hearing back from Canada, if they've heard about any content providers or the level of tablets that are being used throughout Canada, that would be helpful information as well. And then if there's anything that we can do or information we can try to find to help assist you in that, I think that would be definitely possible. You know, for the big picture, you know what I mean? And then is it Hilmy? He said that they have laptops, and you know what I mean? I don't know if we can get more information about that. Like, are they tablets? Are they laptops? And are they utilizing content providers? Things like that. So just hearing back from the other places overseas and Canada as well, I think that would be helpful as well. And one other thing I want to touch on is that Paul has brought up an issue that's being discussed in Ohio, and that's just like a paper ban with books not being able to go into the prison. You know, people here in the States often take books and they'll spray chemicals and stuff on there for them to get high. And there's been discussions of eliminating books going into the prisons altogether. You know, Arizona and some other regions are planning to put in a motion for a project plan to see what electronic literature looks like on a larger level. But either way, I mean, that doesn't, we can still do these other services that we're trying to do to help carry the message and prolong and help further, you know, carry the message any way that we can. So I just hope to hear back from you. Maybe we could follow up after a few months or something like that, find out if there's any more progress being made.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I wanted two things about the books and then also Canada. Brian, we could get on a call with CipherWorks at some point and ask for more details or ask for introductions. Just make a PR connection, just something that gets you connected to the right people to then take that and develop it for yourself. And then the books, yes, complete paper ban. Oh, project plan to investigate putting electronic resources on. So we've talked about direct uploads, and we've talked about putting stuff out for free through the content providers. Another idea is having electronic books available for the incarcerated to purchase and download onto their tablets. If they don't have Adobe, if they don't have CipherWorks, if they're in a state that doesn't have a Lynda that gets stuff uploaded, maybe we could still have opportunities for them to experience the magic of NA literature. It's not optimal, but many people buy their own literature. And maybe in those cases, but does that open the door for Adobe and CipherWorks to stop providing it for free, right? So a lot of things to take into consideration, but there are a lot of ideas that haven't even been discussed here, that there are a lot of different ways that this could look. Jeff?
Yeah, I was just gonna follow. I mean, Ryan kind of said, and you know, this paper ban thing. I mean, you brought it up that Ohio's talking about doing that, and if that's what's going on in BC or other places in Canada, I mean, that's just more of a reason why we should encourage this tablet thing because you know, they can't soak the. I don't know. Addicts are pretty creative. They can figure out a way to get high off these damn tablets, but it might take them a long time. So, but it's more of a reason to encourage you know, institutions that haven't made these available to their guests that, you know, maybe they should think about it. I was just gonna kind of echo that.
Well, with that, we're at, you know, close to
I
over
was
an
just
hour
going
and
to
a
say
half.
something, Paul.
Yeah.
If everyone could please fill out that survey that was in the invite in the email, because we really want to know if you guys want this quarterly as a round discussion, you know, what you're doing in your area, blah, 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 blah. And we're happy to kind of disseminate that information and share it back to you. I could take on that responsibility.
Anything else before we close? Well, thank you all so much for, you know, joining and participating and brainstorming. And I just am so excited for all the possibilities with all this, you know, doing this together. In particular, shout out to Ryan and Linda for the last 4 years of working on this stuff together. We literally are at our 4-year anniversary of doing service work together across the vast difference between Ohio and Arizona, and it's just been amazing. Ryan, could you help take us out?
Sure. And take a moment of silence for the addict who still suffers, followed by the third step statement. Many of us have said, take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, show me how to live.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you. I'm going
everybody.
to turn off the recording. Ryan and Linda, can you stick around for a little bit?
Yes.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a beautiful